I'm Jenny Robertson, founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm excited to share with you the speaker portion of our Connections After Hours gathering of the On Purpose Woman Global Community. Suzanne Culberg is speaking on how to say no without feeling mean. Suzanne is the Nope coach. She's an author and coach who helps overgivers and people pleasers learn to set boundaries and say no without feeling guilty. Suzanne is known for her straight talking and her wacky t-shirts. She lives in Sydney, Australia with her husband and her two awesome children. And Suzanne's website is suzanneculberg.com to check out her work. And that link is also in the text of this video. So Suzanne, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Ginny.
And you are on.
Okay, so welcome to How to Say No Without Feeling Mean. Now is the time, if you haven't done so already, pen, paper, beverage of your choice. I like these to be interactive. So if you're here live in the room, cameras on, I'm the only one spotlighted, so I can see your face. I can see you nodding. You're picking up what I'm putting down, or I can see the confusion if I say something that's Aussie lingo and it goes over everybody's heads. So please use the chat box if you're here in the room. If you're watching this in the replay, you can chat in Facebook, YouTube. I find things so much more, people retain information when they type. They've done studies and stuff on that. So feel free to chat in the chat box. First question I have for you before I dive into the stuff. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is not at all and 10 is I've totally got this, how comfortable are you when it comes to saying no? And obviously this is going to be depending on the situation, but like think of something where you feel awkward. It could be to a family member, it could be to a friend, but like, you know, or you could say family and friends, 1, in my business life, 10. But let me know in the chat box when it comes to saying no on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable do you feel? We've got 8. Ooh, we've got some 8s. We've got some strong knowers in the house. I love it. 5. So good. And if you're on the replay, I'll catch this in YouTube. I'll have a look, and in the Facebook group. And the next question, and for those of you here live, you're already pre-warmed up for this, but in one word, how are you feeling right now about saying no? If you could condense it down to one word. Curious, I like that. Strong, anxious, everything is welcome here. Hesitant, excellent. I love we've got the full gamut. I've got total spectrum here today. So good. So very, very brief introduction. I'm Suzanne Culberg. As Ginny said, I'm the Nope coach. I talk really fast, so it's a good thing this is recorded so you can catch it again. Also with the accent, I know it can make it hard. So if anything is confusing, please ask me in the chat box. It's all good. I'm a mum of 2, Xanthi and Casimir. I am a sweary fairy, though I am keeping it in check today. So if you look at me outside of this, you'd be like, woof, she's got a sailor for a parent. And I'm a wacky t-shirt lover, as Ginny said. Today I have for you, there's an explanation, of course. I'm a really terrible person because I love Cruella de Vil. And so a little bit about you. If you're in the right place, if the thought of saying no freaks you out, you numb, distract, shove down your feelings, maybe with food or work or Netflix or scrolling or games like Candy Crush, anyone? It's like, oh, I can't deal with this, so I'm just going to numb out in this other way. You invest a lot of energy trying to win the approval of others, and your self-worth's tied to what other people think. Like, if I say no, what are they going to think about me? And you have no time for yourself, but you'll drop anything to make time for others. If someone's like, can you help me move tomorrow at 6 a.m.? I'm there. Like, that's an extreme example, but if someone asks something of you, you won't even look at your schedule, but you wouldn't make time for like hobbies or fun things. So you're my people. You're not alone. So why do we struggle to say no? So for anyone watching this on replay, those of us here live, like, you should come to these meetings. They're fabulous. But we had a little bit of a breakout room session discussion about this before I came on. So I have some insider knowledge because I was taking notes. But for anyone who wasn't here, and for those of you here live who want to have a little bit more dive deeper into it, if you've got your journal or paper there, I'd love for you to write, in what circumstances would you like to say no? Like, in what kind of circumstances do you struggle to say no? And this could also be no with yourself. Like, I know for me, there's so many things that I want to do. I was saying in the breakout room, I've never met a shiny object I didn't like. So one of my struggles to say no is, to me, overcommitting myself. And as you've written them, if you want to share them in the chat box, I'd love to hear. But, in what kind of circumstances would you like to say no? I've got me. I've got an example why you guys are chatting, like writing about it or thinking about this, because sometimes I realize these are deep questions. You might need to ponder it in the interim. My oldest child, Xanthi, she has anxiety, and I also have anxiety, so it's a whole thing. But she would come to me at like 10 o'clock at night and be like, I'm really stressed about something that happened at school today, or whatever, like whatever she was anxious about. And so then I would spend time helping her decompress. So then I would be up to say 11 or maybe even midnight. And then after I've helped her, I can't then just go to bed because I'm wired and I need to decompress myself. And I realized that this was really interfering with my sleep. So being able to say no to my daughter, like I was like, I feel like the world's worst mum. Like, what kind of mum, if someone's going to come to you and goes, I need help with this, you're going to say no? So we had to find a way. And basically, I was like, I am more than happy to help you with whatever it is you have going on. I can't do it at 10 o'clock at night, like once you're supposed to have been in bed. So how about after school, you come to me with stuff? And then we trialed this and we realized that after school didn't work because she wasn't ready yet. It was too soon. It was too fresh. So to cut a long story short, because I'm wary of time today, but basically what we do now is she has a period between after dinner and 7 p.m. that is open slather. Come to me with whatever it is and we can whatever. But if you go past the 7 p.m., as much as I love you, it's got to wait till tomorrow because it's not in service to either of us if I'm staying up late and whatever. And setting that boundary with my own child was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And the first time she came to me all wired, I don't think I slept that night. I felt so bad. But now we've gotten such a great relationship that it's not an issue anymore. And I don't even, like, for the first few days, maybe even weeks, I had to say anything today. Like, it's coming up to 7, but now I don't even need to. But sometimes, we do have to put those boundaries in place, especially with the people we love. And it can be challenging in the beginning. So in the chat box, we've got, sometimes it's me needing to say no to myself versus so I stay committed to my goals. I suppose that example I just gave is me saying no to myself because I want to help my kid. So it's saying no to both of us. But sometimes saying no in that moment serves you in the long run. Have trouble saying no to me. No to others I know I could help make their life easier. Yes. Yeah. I know letting my kid decompress is going to help her immensely, but it's not going to help me when I'm not sleeping. And then I have another child who loves to wake up at 5 a.m. So I'm up till, one, decompressing from one and up at 5 with the other. Life was not pleasant for that period of time. No to me, but more to my daughter from past trauma with illness. Yes, yes. So many things to ponder. Next question. Why is it so hard for you to say no? Once again, if you're on the replay, you might want to pause and really consider this. Sometimes you can't come up with an answer off the bat. But, why is it so hard for you to say no? And I'm going to marry this with the next question because they can go together. What were you taught growing up about saying no? Like, how was it modeled to you, if at all? Oh, thank you. You're already sharing without me having to prompt. I love this. Growing up, good girls are accommodating. And I love this, the whole good girl frame. A good girl helps others. Good girl always says yes. Good girl never asks for anything. I wasn't taught how to say no. And if I say no, I'm mean. Oh my goodness, yes. Only mean people say no. That means they don't care about you. It means they don't love you. My mother never says no and never takes care of herself. My mum passed away recently, and I hadn't shared this, but growing up, she never said no. She also never had any friends, and she never had any hobbies. And for a long time, I didn't want any children. I didn't make the connection until years later because I thought once you became a mum, your life kind of ended because you didn't have friends and you didn't have hobbies. And I had my children, well, by today's standards, it's average, but rather late compared to my sisters and my mum who all had their kids in late teens, early 20s. I had my kids in my 30s. But it was like, oh, I can have kids and still like have a business and have friends and go to the movies. And it was phenomenal because in my life, the modeling was you become a mum and then your life is about your children. Like your life for you is done. So we've got, I'm a people pleaser. Oh, I lost it. I'm a people pleaser. If I said no, I didn't care or I was selfish. Oh, the selfish one. Who can resonate with that one? Fun fact, you can heal this stuff generationally. My son, haven't spoke about him yet, Casimir, I learned so much from him. Someone said to him recently, "You're so full of yourself." And I was wondering, oh, how's he going to answer this? And he kind of looks them up and down and he's like, well, who else would I be full of? I was like, my job here is done, because he wasn't offended. He didn't take that to mean he needed to change or he needed to be more giving. He was like, yeah, of course I'm full of myself. Who else would I be full of? I don't want to disappoint others, but sometimes it's FOMO. Yeah, there can be fear of missing out. We can say yes to stuff because it sounds really cool. But who has ever done this? You say yes to something because of FOMO, but you really kind of wish you had missed out. You're like, oh my gosh, this was not what was on the sales page. I should have trusted my gut. Like in the breakout rooms earlier, someone was speaking about human design and their sacral response. Like if your gut says it's a no, I don't care how pretty your sales page is. I don't care what you promised me. I'm following through because I've never disagreed with my gut and had been like, man, I should have done this. I've been like, nope, if it's a sacral no, it's a no. Fear of missing out is why I don't say no to myself. Want to belong. Yes, I didn't even think about that, but that is a whole thing because sometimes we do things, peer pressure doesn't end in childhood, unfortunately, but there's a difference between belonging and fitting in. Often we'll say yes to fit in. Everyone else is doing it. I want to be cool. But when you truly belong is when you can say no. Like if people invite me to stuff, I'm a highly sensitive introvert. If it's on the day I don't want to do it, I will say, thanks, Ginny. I wouldn't have done this today. This is different. I'm presenting. But say Ginny invited me as a participant. Thank you so much, Ginny. I'm having introvert today. I can't. I'll see you next time. And I totally would do that. If you are the presenter, please don't do that. If you're attending somebody's wedding or some really important event, please don't do that. But if it's like you're going to a movie or you're going to something like, if we're going to the movies together and I'm in a foul introvert hobgoblin can't talk to anyone kind of mood, it's in service to everybody if I don't go. So, but people, when you belong, they're like, oh yeah, it's Suzanne. They don't make it mean anything about them. Suzanne's having a day where she just needs to be alone. And that to me is true belonging. But yeah, there's lots of FOMO. I love this. No, I don't love FOMO, but I love the theme that's coming through. So why is it so hard to say no? We've kind of touched on this already, but there's a lot of societal, cultural conditioning. Like if we say yes, then we're a good girl. If we say yes, it means that they like us. If they say yes, it means that, you know, we're doing good things. Like how often, I know everybody in here is in business because it's the on global business women's community. But if you put an offer out and nobody buys it, do you immediately think nobody likes me? What have I done wrong? Do you think maybe the timing doesn't work or they don't understand your title or they've only seen it once? Like, have you ever sent one email and done one offer and then suddenly thrown the thing in the toilet because nobody likes it? And it's like, did they even read it? Did they even get what it meant? Like we personalize a lot of these no's. So what I want you to do is grab a piece of paper, just a little square, can be like, you know, this kind of size. You could, I challenge you perfectionists to tear it out of your journal. But, you know, a piece of paper, blank on each side, about yay big. But, you know, if you want to do a whole page, you do you. And on one side, I want you to write yes. And on the other side, I want you to write no. So you've got a little piece of paper. It's got yes on one side and you've got no on the others. Those are here live, if you can hold it up when it's done, so I know when people are done. As I said, I talk fast, I move fast. Yep, perfect. Now, what I want you to do is imagine someone says to you, so, you know, say you've got a plan, something you really like to do. So for me, I like to read. I'm an avid reader, but I used to always just throw that to the side because people have got important things for me to do. So say you're planning whatever your thing is, reading, gardening, watching a movie, sitting in the sun, whatever it is. And someone says, you know, Ginny, Candy, Suzanne, whoever is, can you help me with this? And you say yes to them. So hold up the yes outwards. What are you saying to yourself? What's looking back at you? No. And you say yes to others, you're saying no to yourself. if you had a planned activity. And this is what so often happens. We get swept up, we get excited, we get drawn into other people's stuff. Like at nighttime, past 9 o'clock, that between 9 and 10 is I watch whatever it is I want to watch. I read whatever it is. It's my wind down time. So when my kids come to me and go, I haven't done my homework and there's a diorama due tomorrow, and I say, sure, I'll help you make it, then I'm saying no to me. And also, am I teaching them what they need to know in the long term, that, I'm always going to come and rescue them? If there was an emergency and there was blood, like if there's blood or bones, I'm there. But if it's just you haven't done your homework, it's a no. I'm watching Desperate Housewives rerun for however many times. Thank you very much. And it takes a while to get to that place. And I just want to say, like with this little piece of paper, I'm not going to pretend this process is easy, because if it was, we wouldn't be here having this workshop. It's not easy because you care about others. You care so deeply. You're generous with your time and your energy and your personal resources. You care about being open-hearted, but you've also been hurt. Like, I'm sure for everyone here, parts of you have been disrespected, silenced, ignored, overlooked because you were unable to say no. And you've been taken advantage of. And your needs have been ignored. And you might laugh and go, who really needs to watch Desperate Housewives at 9 o'clock at night? But we need downtime. We need recharge time in whatever way it works for us. I'm a highly sensitive, introverted person. I need to be alone. And if I'm not alone, then, it has repercussions after a while. And sometimes you've tried to speak up and say no, and people haven't listened, or they've spoken over you. They're like, you don't mind, do you? You did it last time. It won't take you long. Just this once. Just this once, mummy. Just this once. Like, can you bail me out? And the thing is, you do mind, but saying no more than once kind of feels frustrating or rude. Like, we had a lot of theme. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to be labeled as all these things. But externally, you look like the good girl, but internally there's often a lot of resentment and bitterness. Oh, my kid do their own homework, or that person should have organized a mover, or whatever it is. I don't want to bake cookies for the bake sale. And so what I want to highlight today, like, we only have a short period of time, but there's lots of layers to this. It's not like you've never tried to say no before. And there's a lot more to it than saying no and hoping for the best. Because it's understanding how to navigate your emotions, the anxiety, the guilt, the uncertainty of how your no will be received. Like, sometimes if you say no, depending on the person, that could be the end of the friendship and relationship. And in the beginning, that can be really challenging. It's managing your nervous system response. Like we talked about this in the breakout rooms: fight, flight, freeze, fawn. That can be activated by you saying no, or by somebody saying no to you. It's not the no today, do you want to go to the movies? It's the no of 6-year-old you who didn't know how to ask for help and who was turned down by somebody, and it was a really important big deal thing for them. So it's also learning skills that perhaps weren't modeled to you as a child. If you were never told to say no, like when I was young, if I said no, that meant I was bad. Like, we didn't display feelings. We were stoic. Adults scolded me if I got emotional, so saying no was bad. So of course you learnt to damp your feelings down and ignore them and shove them down with food and scrolling and eating and whatever else fits in. So what this is about today is about embracing and actively cultivating the life that you want, rather than avoiding the emotions that feel too overwhelming or indulgent in void-filling behaviors like eating, scrolling, working, drinking, shopping. Because so often we spend so much time trying to find the right planner. Like, how many times I need the planner? It's like, I need the planner that's going to plan my planning plan. I need the diet that's going to do whatever. I need all these external things, when really you just need to be able to say no and mean it, because then you don't stay up late overeating, scrolling, shopping, and doing all these things. So I'm very mindful of time. So as we go in to wrap up, you might be thinking, okay, I get it. Got my bit of paper. That's simple, but not simplistic. But how do I say no to others without feeling mean? Step 1, awareness. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. So my invitation for you over the coming days and weeks, just notice all the places that you say yes without even meaning. Like, for me, would you like fries with that? Yes. Would you like a corn cob? Yes. Would you like an upsized drink? Yes. I said yes to everything. I don't want a corn cob. If I wanted a corn cob, I would have ordered one. Like, I'm not saying be that rude, but you can just say no thanks. Like, when I recently went to a US trip with my sister, I'd never been to the States before. When they say you guys jumbo size stuff, you totally do. Like, if you come to Australia, anyway, she was like, "Oh, Suzanne, you're being so rude to everyone." And I was like, they have to ask everybody this. It's their job. Would you like fries? Would you like a bag? Like, they're not going to be personally offended that I said no. She's like, really? I never thought that before. But just notice, how many ways do you say yes without even thinking about it? And in the breakout room, you guys already had it all. Like, you said things like, what did you say? Not right now. I'll get back to you. I'll think about it. They're all ways that you can say no. Like, no doesn't have to be no. It can be, or say someone asks you for an opportunity. Would you say, Ginny, Suzanne, would you like to speak at this event? What time is it? It's like 11 a.m. Eastern. That's kind of like 1 a.m. for me. Oh, I have an after hours one. I'm there. So, the no can be an actual opening. It doesn't have to be a closing. But, awareness. Where do you say yes without even realizing it because you can't change what you don't acknowledge? Step 2, self-compassion. It's gonna suck the first few dozen times you do it. Do it anyways. You can't get good at what you don't do. Saying no to my kids when they ask me for things in times that I've clearly stated I'm not available is really hard. It used to be, it's not so much anymore. And now they don't ask. It's so funny. You tend to get into habits. They're like, I won't ask mum because I know it'll be a no. But they also know if there's an emergent situation, I will be there. Just this last week, my son come busting in while I was recording. And I was like, where's the blood? And he's like, you got to ring daddy now. Anyway, I'm like, what's happened? And it was a whole situation. If you're on my email list, if you want to read that email, send me a message. I'll forward it to you. But like, he knows not to come in. But having compassion with yourself that it's going to be hard if you've always been like, sure, I'll brush your hair. Sure, I'll change the channel. I remember the very first time I had this whole discussion with my kids. I'm like, don't interrupt me when I'm working unless it's important. And I was like, okay, cool. Sit down. 2 minutes later, my daughter comes running in. I'm like, is it important? She's like, yeah. I'm like, what is it? I could fit 27 blueberries in my mouth. So then we had to have a discussion about what important actually means. So sometimes when you think you're being clear, you're not. And even with clients, ways that they can contact you, times that they can contact you, all these things, that doesn't mean you've done it wrong. Have some self-compassion. It's like, okay, we need to discuss. So now it's like blood, bone. You got me. Other than that, it can kind of wait, Step 3, rebuilding your self-worth. And I call this toddler energy. Toddlers don't care that they inconvenience you. Toddlers are demanding AF. So, and we still love them. Your people will still love you, even if you're kind of, how you feel in the beginning, demanding with your requests. Like, you might be like, oh my gosh, no one's going to love me. Everyone's going to think I'm such this. But, reclaim a little bit of toddler energy. Toddlers are demanding and we love them. And also, when you're clear, like in my entire business, I do not respond to DMs in any way, shape, or form. It fascinates some people. Like, how do you have a business that doesn't respond to DMs? Like, I can't stand them. I think they're the dick pics of the social media world, the unsolicited DMs. I can't stand it, But I'm very clear on all my pages. Don't DM me. I won't answer. This is how you can contact me. And I've never had anybody who'd be a real lead not follow through on that. But I've had a lot of people trying to sell me Ray-Bans or whatever. So, rebuild your self-worth and know that you can be a little bit like a toddler and your people will still love you. In fact, they'll probably be relieved you're asking for what you want. When I go to someone's page and it clearly states, start here, click on this, message me here. Or I emailed someone yesterday and I got a response saying, I usually respond in about a month. But if you don't hear from me, then send again. And I was like, that's a long time, but good for you. And the last thing is be willing to let some people go. If you're not familiar with Martha Beck, she's got a whole range of books. The one I'd recommend is called Steering by Starlight. She has a section called The Empty Elevator. So as we wrap this up, I'll explain the empty elevator. I'm going to butcher it. Martha Beck does it heaps better. But basically, if you imagine your life is an elevator, right now, everybody, every situation in the elevator carriage, is it called a carriage? Let's just call it an elevator, with you. As you start to say no, some people will get off. Some people will be like, whew, I don't do that anymore, and you're going to have to travel between floors. So you could feel like you're in an empty elevator. You can feel like, oh, I'm kind of alone. But once the elevator reaches the new floor and the doors open, then the new people can get on. The people who are like, oh my gosh, she doesn't do DMs. I love her. Oh my gosh, she swears. I love her. And then the people who are like, oh, she swears. They're not going to get on because they're not aligned with that. But sometimes as you start to say no and set boundaries, some people will leave. But here's the most magical thing. This is Suze's added to Martha Beck's thing. Sometimes people get off, then they travel in their own elevator and you meet them again on another floor. I can't count the number of times people I've connected with a year, 2 years later, and it's just been like, oh my goodness, all the baggage is gone, or we can have the conversation we couldn't have before because we weren't aligned at this level, but we are now. So no doesn't mean no forever. It might just mean no for now, or sometimes it might need no forever. But if you only have people who are in your life and space and world because of how much you overdo for them, is that the kind of life that you want to keep leading? So anyway, 2 minutes to go. Look at me for time. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to stay. But yeah, thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Suzanne. I would like to ask everyone who's here with us on Zoom, unmute yourselves really quick and let's give some applause and some yays and stomp your feet and all that kind of stuff.
That was fantastic.
Thank you. Great, great stuff, Suzanne. And I will just wrap this up here on Facebook Live, and then we'll take some questions. So I do want to thank anyone else who's watching this live or the replay on our YouTube channel. Please check out all the other women on our channel who share their gifts, their wisdom, and their expertise to inspire you to move forward, whether it's about your business or other parts of your life. If you want to join us for one of our Zoom gatherings or an in-person gathering, go to my website, opwgc.com, and check out all about our community and the magazine. And be sure to check out Suzanne's website, which is also in the text of this video, and see what she has to offer. Again, thanks for watching.